Welcome back to the Benner's YouTube channel. Guys, another How Tuesday coming in for you. We got a hot one. We got ourselves a 2012 Ford Focus. So, you noticed, as I pulled it in, the hubcap is missing. Well, there's a reason why. This unit here, the spindle broke on it. I know, I haven't seen it yet, but I was told they were able to pop the ball joint back in and get it on the trailer. So now it's here. My buddy Sean dropped her off, and he's like, Brian, can you help me out, man? And it tore the CV axle. The whole tire was just about ripped right off the old girl. I'm gonna see if I can find a picture for you. Maybe you can send me one, I can drop it in the video for you. But today, we're gonna show you how to replace a control arm, a CV shaft, and guess what? A spindle. So let's go see what he brought us here. Oh, he grabbed us a brake hose too, just in case. Because you can only stretch them so far. So we do have a premium Dorman. Oh, I seen Dorman somewhere. There it is. Lower control arm. We also have our new Knuckle assembly. Look at that unit. Dang. And a big shaft. Because, of course, the passenger side. So, yes. And more Camaro content coming soon for you Camaro fans, all right? That unit is going to be back popping up Friday, I promise. And guess what? If you're watching this one, I'll tell you a secret. She runs. Shh. Well, friends, before we get started on this How Tuesday project, I want to give you a quick tool rundown. So, torque wrench. Always needed for your axle nut and your love nuts. We got a 1/2-inch drive ratchet. Makes it convenient. We needed a 15 and an 18. 15 is going to be for your spindle, if you're changing that. 18 is going to be for your control arms, as long as you know, as well as a 21 wrench. And 18, get yourself a 10 millimeter there if you're going to be taking off the backing plate like I had to. And get yourself 1 1/4 inch. Now, granted, 1 1/4 inch is probably 32 in metric or something like that, but that'd be for your axle nut. 13, also necessary. Basically, kind of some basic hand tools. They may not be impact. You may just be able to use less, but it'll help you get it done. All right, you guys know the basics. Let's get this tire off and see what we're looking at here. All right. You ever have a tire that has a hard time coming off? Get your big bar and hook it on the rotor. There it is. I'm a little nervous, I'm just saying. Well, it looks normal so far. They said the spindle's what broke. Well, it's broken on this side. Oh, shoot, dang, guys, look at that. She is broke right off. And honestly, as rusty as it is, that's freaking wild, guys. I have never seen that before. I don't know if you have. Drop it in the comments below, but you know, you could over tighten it or do something foolish like that, maybe, but that's all factory. I mean, look at the struts factory. I mean, you can see it's all original goodies. And you can see the axle, all the boot, you know, all the grease is everywhere. So, yeah, that's not good either. So let's get pulling it apart. All right, get your axle nut off. Now I'm using 1 1/4 inch, but metric I think it's like a 32, but it'll be fine. Get your outer tie rod end out of the way. Now obviously we're doing a little extra because we're doing all 3 pieces, but some of this stuff, if you're just changing the control arm, you don't necessarily have to mess with that. Or even the axle for that matter. All right, usually you can kind of tunk on the side here. I'm just spinning the nut on real quick and just tapping her down, but it don't take much effort in some instances, but that's out of the way. Now we can turn this unit. All right, so you want to pop this little cap out of there. Just kind of, you know, stops dirt and crap getting in there. This is a 7 millimeter Allen, okay? Crack that dude loose. Same on the top, and get your caliper out of the way. So before that caliper comes off all the way, you got your spring clip here. It's just an anti-rattle clip so that caliper doesn't rock back and forth. Pry that dude out of your way. Get a hook or something and hang this too. You don't want it hanging off that brake hose. So, I mean, I think them are Lyle tools. Them are pretty cheap. I mean, you could use anything. Brake line or whatever you got. Something to, you know, steel, you know, preferably. But we got a bracket here too. Get your 18 on your impact or ratchet. just because we're changing the knuckle, we're going to get these backing plate bolts right out of our way. These are a 10 millimeter. So we want to get our speed sensor out. So make sure you unplug that. And then it is a T25. So I'm hoping we can get it out of this knuckle because she's been in there since, 2012. All right, so we're gonna mess with that speed sensor when that knuckle's off. If you gotta change your knuckle, we'll deal with it together in a minute. But get the axle out, air chisel. You could probably beat it with a hammer because the axle don't matter, because it is bad, but air chisel makes light work of it. Just go ahead and pry this down. Now our bolt is broke, so that just comes right out, but you'd normally have to take that bolt out. Okay, with your control arm down, just swing your spindle out of the way. You just want to pull that axle out of there. Well, you can see the shape of ours. It ain't supposed to come out like that. Honestly, it just tore the boot when it pulled apart, but we're not changing the boot. We're putting a whole shaft in.
That's what she said.
Depending if you live in the Rust Belt like us, this might be a bear. So it's a 15, and a lot of times they just kind of rust on here. These are original struts and stuff, so yeah, it probably should have got struts. But if you take a chisel, or they make a socket actually, you can push on and kind of twist, and it opens that up. But let's get that bolt out first. See how that part works out for us. Hopefully we don't break it off. All right, I can deal with that. All right, so there we go. So you see I kind of just wedged my air chisel in there. Look at that. Let me just pull this right out of the way. That, my friends, is how they're supposed to come off. See, I got it out. Now, did I show you? No, but it definitely took a second. I just kind of tapped a screwdriver on either side and then a pair of channel locks and kind of just worked her back and forth. And she slid right out. Well, kind of. So just be careful. I mean, granted, these things are not terribly expensive. If you do break one, you can always buy one. Or if you don't want to fuss with it, just buy a new one. But we don't have one, and we want to get this thing wrapped up for him today. So let's get to showing you that CV shaft, and then we got to pull that lower control arm assembly. Probably get this out of the way first, give us all the real estate. Don't need this anymore. Okay, you can see our nice little mess from the grease there, but what I want to show you, so this is a 13 millimeter nut, and that is a 13 millimeter nut. So this idler bearing is on this intermediate shaft. This comes out all as one assembly. So what we'll do is we'll pull them two loose, and that'll slide right out, and get our shaft out. So as for the control arm, we got a couple 18s here. This is the goofy one. Normally it's not, but for whatever reason, this AC line is right in the way. So that is an 18 as well. What I'm thinking though, we can pull this 10 loose. We should be able to just flex this down just enough, or push it up just enough to get that bolt out. Even if we got to ratchet wrench it out or whatever, at least that way we don't have to discharge the AC or anything crazy to change, a control arm. Okay, let's see what happens here. So that is one of our bolts for the compressor. I can tell by just looking at the length of that overall. So we're gonna try hitting it with the ratchet wrench first. Like I said, 18. That is a tight SOB. And you can't get to the nut on the backside either, guys. That's probably the worst part. Right, she's coming loose now. So let's get this plate out of the way. All right, so there still is one bolt holding your compressor up. So hoping we didn't have to pull that. Now can we get the bolt out? No. Son of a biscuit. We gotta be able to get the bolt out. Okay, yeah, we can. There it is. All right, get your 18s back here. Okay, so I pulled that one out already, but if you, there is nuts on top. So make sure you get your 21 wrench up there. Kind of a interesting fit, but it'll go. There There we go. And honestly, with these control arms, it's easier when there's no spindle in your way, because then you can pull them straight out and put them back in the same way. Same treatment. You got to kind of lift the sway bar up. You'll notice that kind of pinches in between. Just repeat steps 1 through 17 here and put your bolts back in. Now for control arm replacement, that's your part's done almost. You can just put it back together. So for us, we're gonna go one step further and get into that axle, like we talked about a minute ago, fight with our AC lines, put our compressor back together, and rebuild the whole front end of the car. So take note, these control arm bushings are, if they're sprung down with the strut, you really want to tighten them up at ride height. Now we know at ride height, this control arm is going to be about right there. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten it up. You may have the strut pushing it down to here, not at ride height. So think about that and be conscious when you go to tighten that bushing bolt right there. The rest of them don't mean nothing. That one there will fatigue and you could premature, cause failure to that unit right there. So let's tighten bolts. So we got these couple 13s like we spoke on earlier. We'll get them out of the way real fast. So you can see we got our clamp removed. Just a little outward pressure. It should be just enough to get this thing past, just like that. Because if you've dealt with a spherical bearing before, it's a sphere. So it's kind of rounded and it sits in a groove. So, and replace your seal at your discretion. If it ain't leaking, it's probably gonna be fine, but keep an eye on it. Now fishing the new one in, it's just as easy as the other one coming out. Now make sure you put a little lube on your shaft here before you stick it in.
There's always time for lubricant!
All right, so you guys seen how the basics went together. Now remember, as for the control arm, you gotta mess with that AC compressor lower shield there. Now if your car doesn't have that, maybe you don't need to worry about that. And also popping that axle off, sometimes you might lose a little fluid. In this instance, my hoist's a little crooked, so it might have helped us, you know what I mean? But we didn't lose a drop. Grease your seal, just a little bit, something, And then our new controller, I noticed, is stamped steel versus aluminum. They say this is the updated replacement. It went in, so we're gonna go with it. I'm gonna go ahead and time lapse this part, slamming this back together real quick, and I'll jump back in when we're torquing our axle nut. So, set your torque wrench to 250 and give her the beans. There we go. Don't forget the last piece of the puzzle. Make sure you line up your valve stem. And it'll pop right over your lug nuts. That, my friends, is how you replace a control arm, a spindle, and a CV shaft on your 2012 Ford Focus. And I think it's probably like 11 to whatever, but I'll fill you in on that when we get there. But on that note, guys, on behalf of me and this lovely blue Ford Focus, make sure you like, subscribe, share all that good stuff. We'll see you on the next one.